Just a few words. Firstly, thank you all so much for your support. This channel is slowly but surely growing, and that is really exciting to me. Remember, you can see all research notes for these videos on my Patreon for free and outtake videos for $1 a month. Now let's get into a fan favourite story, Critical Hit, a story that starts in episode 11 at 16 minutes and 37 seconds and is based on the manga's 36th chapter. Critical Hit is unique in that it's one of the only stories that has a name but doesn't show up in the title of the anime episode. The story begins with Nishikata walking to class, feeling pretty confident that today will be the day that he finally wins against Takagi. Takagi says good morning as he enters and observes that he is in a pretty good mood today. Nishikata brushes it off casually. The inner monologues about how she is right, because today isn't like any other day. Before he can even think about it, Takagi asks if he is happy because Cancer was first in the horoscopes that morning. Nishikata, shocked that she figured it out, asks how she knows that he is a Cancer, to which she replies that she wished him a happy birthday. Nishikata is a little shaken that she figured this much out, but retains confidence that she hasn't figured out the entire story, until Takagi asks if he's glad about type O blood getting a good prediction in the horoscopes as well. Nishikata is shocked that she even knew his blood type, and when he asks her how, she says that she just took a guess. It is at this point I was going to bring up how strange it is to me that a middle schooler knows his blood type while a 22-year-old like myself has no freaking clue. But then I did some research and found out that plenty of East Asian countries like to do blood type horoscopes. Some believe that one's blood type can be used to predict personality and relationship compatibility. Putting two and two together, Takagi predicts that Nishikata believes he has an invincible aura because he came first in both fortunes. She then states that she hopes something good happens today, to which Nishikata agrees, and then thinks to himself that Takagi had better be ready for today, because this was the day he was finally going to win. The story cuts to the end of the day with Nishikata sitting at his desk looking absolutely devastated. He claims that he had been teased 50 times today and therefore has to do 150 push-ups. Fun fact, in the manga he was only teased 25 times, but get this. In the manga's 4th chapter, the chapter that muscle training is based off, when Nishikata hears 10 push-ups for every mistake, he doesn't cut it down to 3. So even though he was teased half as much in the manga, he still has 100 extra push-ups to do. Takagi asks him if he's disappointed that nothing good happened and tries to reassure him that hey, it was only a fortune, he shouldn't take it so seriously. And then Nishikata reminds Takagi that even she got a tarot card fortune, referring to the previous story in this episode, fortune telling. Nishikata states in his head that he's been trying to think of a plan to get back at Takagi all day, but he hasn't thought of anything. Takagi invites him to walk home together, to which he accepts and decides that there's still time in the day to use that luck. As they approach the bike racks, Takagi asks what the one-liner of Nishikata's fortune was. Nishikata thinks and then he remembers. The fortune told him that he would land a critical hit today. In the manga translation I read, this was translated to turning point as opposed to critical hit. When I initially envisioned this analysis way back before I even started, I was going to do an entire paragraph based on how the title Critical Hit is so much better than Turning Point, and how I'm so glad that the anime creators changed the title. But that was before Epsilus Zero informed me that the manga did call it Critical Hit, and that I was just reading a funny translation. And thank God for that, or I would have made a complete fool of myself. Again. Nishikata realizes that a critical hit means that if he can tease Takagi just once, then he will have won that day. When Takagi asks him if he remembered what it was, Nishikata pretends that he can't remember. It is at this point that two boys call out for Nishikata. They inform him that the new Fierce soccer game is out today and invite him to play it with them. Nishikata looks pretty excited to join them, and Takagi even looks disappointed, completely expecting him to go off with those boys. But then Nishikata realizes that he hasn't landed his critical hit yet. If it feels like I've been skimming through the story so far, it's because I kind of am. This story in particular has a lot of setup, all of which is necessary, but it's from this point on that all the pieces are in place and we get into the meat of the story. Takagi and Nishikata are walking home together, implying that he turned his friends down, just like he did in Invitation, and for the exact same reason too. He thinks about how he's going to get his critical hit. Takagi asks if he's okay not playing the game, reinforcing the theory that she expected Nishikata to go with his friends over her. Whether or not this is set up for teasing, I can't really tell, but even if it was, it doesn't matter, because it's at this point that Nishikata lands his critical hit.
高木さんと帰りたかったし なんかないかな。
Takagi is completely dumbfounded by this statement. She hangs back, making a face similar to the one she made in Room when Nishikata touched her hand. Nishikata stops dead in his tracks, realizing what he has just done. He turns around and sees Takagi standing there speechless. He loses his composure right away and spills all the beans, telling her that his fortune told him that he would get a critical hit and that he wanted to be around her so that he could use it, and that he didn't mean anything weird by what he said. He buries his face into his bag and states that this isn't a critical hit, it's an own goal. He sheepishly approaches Takagi and asks her to forget what he said. Takagi gives a nervous laugh disguised as a fun one, and with tears welling up in her eyes she says that she'll forget what he said if he says it again. Nishikata is horrified with those conditions and asks why he would ever say it again. It all becomes too much for him and he decides to run home a different way, leaving Takagi behind. Takagi, now left alone, trembles. She is about to cry before she grabs her chest, takes a deep breath and calms down. Similar to what she did in Room, except we're looking at her from the front this time. She climbs onto her bike and thinks about how terrifying that critical hit was, and rides home while forcing a smile over her flustered expression. You know, while writing this script, I couldn't help but think about Eraser, the first story from episode 1 based on the manga's first chapter, when Takagi told Nishikata that he will never win. Critical Hit does a great job on showing why she is right. Just like I said in my Room analysis, Takagi is actually quite emotionally vulnerable if you press the right buttons, those buttons being signs of affection, intentional or otherwise, and accidentally holding her hand and not immediately pulling it away has nothing on this. Let's take a look at the facts for a moment. It's made clear that Nishikata has friends besides Takagi, friends that don't tease him and that he seems to get along with quite well. Takagi knows this. Nishikata loves video games. We can tell as much when we see them in Room and when he seems worried about having them confiscated in studying for the test. Takagi knows this. Nishikata always seems flustered and uncomfortable around Takagi and only makes an effort to be around her if he has a plan to embarrass her. Takagi knows this. So imagine how she would have felt when Nishikata turned down playing video games with his friends and risked being uncomfortable because despite all that, he would rather walk home with her. Even after finding out that he only chose her because of his chance for a critical hit, that bombshell isn't just gonna disappear. Now there are two reasons I can think of as to why she would want to hear him say it again. Reason one is that hearing it the first time gave her such a rush that she just really wanted to hear it again. Or secondly, she might have known that he would react by running away and she wanted to be left alone because she was on the verge of breaking down. Back to Eraser. Nishikata can never win because he can never embarrass Takagi in a way that won't embarrass him as well.
Oh shit! Oh shit, it's them!
You amateur!
But those odd moments where he manages to pull it up by accident are some of the most interesting parts in the show. And this isn't a day that either of them will be forgetting about anytime soon. And that is it for Critical Hit. I hope you enjoyed it. I only have the OP and seating arrangement to go, and then that is it for my Takagi-san analysis until the next season. Or the OVA, thank you very much for the reminder, Hamster Gaming. If you want to catch more Takagi-san content, then make sure you subscribe. Also, if you want to see the films I write and direct, make sure you check out the parent channel, Big Joe Productions. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time.